So this has been the month of questions. It may seem like kind of a strange theme, but this is the year in Namaste in which we have declared for ourselves a theme of awakening. And we've been looking at all sorts of different ways in which we can awaken in the relationships we have in life, through prayer, through our Dharma, lots of different areas. And this month, I actually changed midstream the topic, because it was going to be something else, but I got led to say this is the month to awaken through questions. And one of the things that I was aware of was last week, in a very sacred moment, it was called the Gospel of Thomas, when we did a workshop, little mini workshop. As people are gathering beforehand, somebody told a riddle in a very holy space, mind you. Riddles are quite holy, don't you think? So I'm going to share the riddle with you, because it's a question. And you may have heard it, so if you know the answer, don't spoil it for the person sitting next to you, because then I'll feel depleted, and deflated, and sad. Okay, so here it is. 3 guests check into a hotel room. The clerk says that the bill's $30. So each guest pays $10. Later, the clerk realizes that the bill should only be $25 because they're running a special. So in his wisdom, wanting to rectify the situation, he gives the bellhop $5. And he asks the bellhop to return to the guests the $1 that he owes them. So on the way to the room, the bellhop realizes that he can't divide the money equally. It's a $5 bill. So he reaches into his pocket and he says, oh, I have change. And the guests don't know that the total of the revised bill, what it should be. They don't know that it's not 25, that it's 27. So the bellhop decides to keep $2 himself, gives $1 each, into each of the guests. So each guest now has $1 back. Each guest figures that they paid $9 each for the room, bringing the total for the room to $27. The bellhop has $2, plus the 27 that they all had is 29. So if the guests originally handed over $30, what happened to the other $1? I want you to be absorbed in this question for the rest of the service. Because there's $30 for the room, and each guest got $1 back, so that's 27, but that the bellhop has 2, and what happened to the other $1? So we almost didn't do the workshop on Wednesday because we were so transfixed in trying to find, Pauline's laughing because I think it was hers, that she brought us. How many of you have ever been so transfixed in trying to answer something that you just can't let it go? And all other logic and reason just sort of go by the wayside. I was thinking even after that evening, I spent a considerable amount of time trying to resolve the riddle. I resisted the temptation to look up the answer on the internet because I was sure it had to be there. Until all of a sudden I realized that the riddle is about asking the wrong question. It's about asking the wrong question. The question is not where did the $1 go. The question is how can I account for the $27 the guest paid for the room? And the moment you do that, you say, there was $25 that was handed to the clerk and there was $2 handed to the bellhop, and that accounts for the $27. Now, my head goes back into, okay, but wait a minute, the other way I was looking at it, I still can't resolve it. And it's like, Kristin, of course you can't resolve it looking at it that way. Because there was something really false about the assumptions in trying to answer the riddle in the way that you were asking the question. And sometimes we just have to let go of the way in which we're asking the question in order to ask it a different way. How many of you have ever had a situation in life where something just changed and you ask a different question? You let go of the perspective you had and all of a sudden the answers were right there and you went, are you kidding me? This answer was here all the time? And I just wasn't able to let go of the paradigm and the way that I've looked at it all this time. In a life where we feel very rewarded often by having answers, we often lose the ability to consider different questions. I want to say that again because it's become sort of my mantra to myself this month. In a life where we are often very rewarded for having answers, we also sometimes lose the ability to ask ourselves new questions. In the last couple weeks, we've been talking about everything from our school systems to the way in which we are subtly reinforced for having answers, rather than reinforced to stay kind of in the mystery and in the questions of life, in the movement of life. I was thinking of this phrase, which is akin to the book that we're using this month, about beautiful questions. And what does that really mean in our lives, to be in a place where we can ask beautiful questions? Not just any old question, but a beautiful question. And I was thinking that a beautiful question are those that really open us to a new understanding. They release us from holding on to the universe as a static thing, which often we do. And they also release us from this thing that we sometimes have learned how to do, which is to put everything in a category and make it neat and tidy. How many of you like neat and tidy life situations? How many of you love messes? Not many of us. We tend to want things kind of neat and tidy. And so a beautiful question is really one that draws us into a place of, my new phrase, radical trust. Radical trust. A beautiful question is one that springs forth from a very anchored belief that spirit is wisdom, and that wisdom lives within us. And to know the wisdom that spirit is to know our own way and our own destiny and our own right. There's a point, even as we stay open to other questions, that we are drawn to a place where the answers do come to us. And it's fascinating how sometimes the answers, when they come, can cause us to shut down again and go into the categorize and be locked down. And one of the things we talked last week was, even as answers come, how do we also keep an opening that says, well, this may be true for now, but maybe it's not true forever. And how do we have a little bit of an opening, even at the point where we get the answer for now, and we feel drawn to move forward with that answer? The point of awakening through questions is not to ignore the answers. The point of awakening through questions is to hear them that are truly coming from our highest wisdom self, and then to act upon them. And to keep acting upon them until our continued questioning opens up a new way, and then acting on that way that's shown us. It's almost like it's a dance of questions and answers and actions and questions and answers and actions. It's the dance of life. It's the dance that will always lead us to a new awakening, to that piece of us that is being called forward, that urge of life to express more through us. Ernest Holmes, our founder of Science of Mind and Spirit, has a very famous sentence that is attributed to him, and it is, change your thinking, change your life. Everybody heard that one once or twice? Oh, come on. A little like, anybody who's taken, how many have taken foundation class? Okay, I know you've heard it. Change your thinking, change your life. If you expand on that idea, well, I think what it really is saying is change your questions. That leads to changing your answers. That leads to changing your way of being in the world. That leads to the next evolution of your life. It's a long way of describing it, which is why we shorten it, change your thinking, change your life. But it's not just the thoughts, it's also our activity and what we do with the answers that we get. And so there's a natural process of this divine evolution that I've come to understand, which is we ask questions, we get answers, we act on those, and we move forward. It's a natural process that actually happens pretty spontaneously within us. It's hard to shut it down, although we've become very, what's the word? Skilled at times of perhaps shutting it down. I wrote this week that the pivotal point in this beautiful process is when the answer finally comes and we do something with it. So I'm going to share a question that I've been living the last year or so. Perhaps actually a little bit longer than just a year. Because I need to share it, and because my answer impacts all of you. And because what I have always done in my ministry and in this community is to live my life out loud with all of you, and to take my spiritual journey and to use it in a way that perhaps not only benefits me, but benefits some others as well. So I want to tell you a story about many years ago. It's actually a time in life when Namaste began, which is coming up here 15 years. It actually was in my living room about 15 and a half years ago. I've remodeled the living room since then. So at that point in time, I had just come out of an era of deeply questioning my life. I had spent 10 years in the corporate world. I was an engineer. I still am. You all know that. And I had what I thought at the time was the misfortune of transferring to Long Beach, California, and having to close down a manufacturing facility. And at the end of that, I was on a path to try to find answers to what I should do next, but with a set of assumptions at the time that what I would do next would be to stay within the corporate world. It didn't occur to me, like the bellhop story, to ask a different question. Because my assumption at the time was, this is what I am here on the planet to do. Actually, I never would have said it that way. It's just, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've been trained to do. This is what I'm supposed to follow. And so I got in a place where I felt pretty stuck about what am I going to do, because I had become the company shutdown expert for closing facilities, and I really didn't want to do that anymore, but I didn't know what else to do. And then there was a moment in time when I began to realize that my entire identity had been tied up in who I was by answering the question when somebody said, "Who are you?" I would hear, "What do you do?" And I would say, "Oh, I'm a corporate big muhaha." It's a very technical term. There's a position in corporations called corporate big muhaha. And I was it, and I was aspiring to that, and I was very successful at it. And all of a sudden I realized I needed to be asking a different question. And the question I asked was, "Kristin, are you your job? Are you your job? Or is there something else?" And it was in that question that I got unlocked from the riddle called, what am I supposed to do next? How am I supposed to navigate through this change? And so the moment I asked the question, I immediately got a different answer. And although it took me some time to act upon that answer, that moment began a journey that eventually led me to step into ministry and to start Namaste. All from that one little moment of just asking a different question, of opening to a different question, and then eventually finding the answer to it. I've been asking another question for the last year of my life. And I've been asking it ever since I took a sabbatical last year. At that moment in time, about a year ago, I was feeling pretty burned out. I was feeling like the spark and the passion inside of me didn't have a really good place and a voice. It wasn't that I didn't love this community or that I didn't love teaching or speaking or being around and in Namaste. It was something different. It was deep down inside, something beginning to rumble, saying, "Are you sure? Are you your job? Are you more than this?" Jamie Lula has a beautiful song called "Something's Calling Me," a little bit deeper. And in hindsight, I realized that that feeling was beginning to stir in me. And so I began to ask questions. So engrossed, I began to realize in Namaste and who I am as your minister that I was losing track of something else that was emerging for me. So the question for me was, how can I find my passion again in ministry? Who am I, and what do I really offer? That's quite the stack of questions. I tried a whole lot of things this last year. Reverend James, God bless him. Thank God he's in our community, and he has so supported me. He has indeed supported me, and he and I have, kind of rearranged duties so that I could be freed up from some of the day-to-day activities, thinking maybe that would make a difference. I've developed some new workshops, and I've spent more time in meditation, and I have explored the spiritual edge of my spiritual life. And I have deepened my spiritual practice. My prayers each month have followed the themes that we've used as a community. I mean, deeply followed them. I started in January with a prayer that was, "Divine guidance throughout my being draws to me that which fulfills and inspires me." I moved on to another one a couple months later, all tied into this awakening theme. My heart is open to others in the sweet and gentle care of self. And in our surrender month, I created one that was called Divine Love chooses that which beautifully uses me. And in all of those prayers, I could feel in each and every moment making some progress, but still I didn't have a final answer and that I was seeking until we hit the Dharma month. Does everybody remember the Dharma month? So the Dharma month was really a month in which we used the book, The Great Work of Your Life by Stephen Cope, and he was talking about finding that place in you that is so alive with a passion and a calling that you answer that call, and you can't help but answer that call. I thought at the time the Dharma was exactly what I had felt the moment I left the corporate world and started Namaste, and in fact it was. So clear was that call that I had no other questions about what or how I would be supported or how that would play out. One of the things that Stephen Cope says in the book is the one that really got me, and I want to share this quote with you again, because actually the Sunday that I spoke this, something inside of me shifted, and it freaked me out. It's this. He's talking about a woman named Catherine, and he's telling Catherine's story about how she had been a teacher for many years, and something was shifting. He said, we might call Catherine's version fear of closing the door. I see this version quite frequently. Someone has had a profound taste of living their Dharma, maybe even for decades. But now that particular Dharma is used up, lived out. You can smell it. The person knows that a certain Dharma moment is over, but has only the vaguest sense of what might be next. It's increasingly begun to dawn on her that in order to find that next expression of Dharma, she is going to have to take a leap of some kind. She knows that she's going to have to close a door behind her before she can open the next one. And gradually she comes to the edge of the cliff where she knows a leap of faith will be required. And this is where she sets down her folding chair. Will she ever get up? And the Sunday that I read that, my heart just said, so Kristin, how's your folding chair doing these days? See, I've assumed that I would retire from Namaste. And in that moment, what occurred to me was, what if there is another Dharma call? What if there is another chapter in my life and even in my ministry? And I got an answer. But it's taken me some time to be able to embrace the answer, which is not unusual, and I think that's probably okay. So here's the deal. At the end of August, just 2 months from now, I am going to step down.
We love you.
Thank you. I'm going to step down as the community spiritual leader of Namaste. It is time to allow Spirit to write a new chapter in my life. And in order to do that, I have to create a blank page. I know it in my bones. I know it even as the emotions have been so raw and so present for me in the last couple weeks especially. And even in the midst of the emotion, I still have a certainty that this is what I need to do. You know, one of the things that I realize is that it has taken me some time in this process, and many of you have been incredibly patient and loving of me in this process. And I think that part of that is something that Oscar Wilde said. He said, I could deny it if I liked. I could deny anything if I liked. And you know, you and I, at different times in our life, when we sense that there's a big changing going on, can deny. And yet, Spirit will not be denied. It'll keep whacking us upside the head, sometimes very uncomfortably, until we listen. I was thinking as well that I avoided the answer perhaps at times, or hearing the answer, sometimes by shutting others out. Have any of you ever kind of closed your heart off? Like, ooh, don't go there. Let's not have that conversation. Because at those times you feel like, if I go there, my heart's going to break. And so there's been a period of time where I just couldn't look at it. I saw a cartoon recently that said, it's a person who hears the answering machine go off. And it says, "Hi, I'm probably home. I'm just avoiding someone I don't like. Leave me a message, and if I don't call you back, it's you." This is not someone else. This is, I don't like the answer, so I'm not answering the phone. And the truth, again, is you cannot deny what Spirit moves through you and calls you into. I couldn't deny Namaste 15 years ago. It was going to happen. And I can't deny this. The last piece I wanted to share about the ways in which we deny, because boy, it's one that has been such an analogy for me for years and years and years, and it's the analogy of the trapeze, you know? You picture the trapeze and the artist on the trapeze. And can you imagine the trapeze artist the first time they ever let go? I mean, oh my word. I mean, I get it after they've done it 20 times and 100 times, but now that first time with the trapeze going and you're hanging on to the bar and you're going, I see the other bar. I think if I let go, I'll probably be okay and I can grab the new bar. Whatever that new beginning is, I'm sure I can grab it. And then as I said years ago, imagine now that as you're giving yourself the pep talk, a big fog moves in. And so now you can't even see the other bar at all. And you have to go on memory or on faith or whatever it may be to say, I can't see it, but I know it's there. And it's in that letting go that the magic happens, because it's in that letting go that we move into that no man's land, so to speak, which to me means no man but all God. It means not our conscious thought, not our rational thought. It means our divine selves that say, this is the arena in which I truly give Spirit the option of playing with my life and as my life. And so I think for a period of time I've been afraid to let go. And then a couple weeks ago, not that this, you didn't do it, Kim, but I want to share something that Kim Machen said at her inaugural talk. How's that? At the practitioner graduation. She reminded us of this expression, God does not call the qualified, but qualifies the called. And I sat there that day and I went, Kristin, you need to keep listening. You need to keep listening. And I think probably the other piece that makes this process difficult for many of us is we sometimes think when there's a change coming up, oh, I can't do this to other people. And the truth is, we're not doing anything to anyone when we follow our good. That this universe has only good in store for us. It has only good in store for this community. It has only good in store for me. It has only good in store for you. And then I heard something Ernest Holmes said in one of his early writings. He said, you rob no person when you discover your own good. You limit no person when you express a greater degree of livingness. You harm no one by being happy. You steal from no one by being prosperous. You hinder no person's evolution when you consciously enter into the kingdom of your good and possess it today. And I would invite us to hear that not just as me speaking it for my words, but for every single one of us. So today I'm surprisingly calm as I share this message. And I won't be that this afternoon, probably. Because there is both the sense of great exhilaration of letting go of the trapeze, and there's an incredible sense of sadness. And one of the things that I know is if whatever is true for one of us is true for many of us. And my guess is in the coming weeks, there's going to be exhilaration of what's new for Namaste, and then there's going to be deep sadness. And some of the sadness comes because when we go through change, we tend to revisit every other loss we have had in our whole entire life. And I have to tell you that on different days in the last couple of weeks, I have revisited every person who has ever made their transition that has been a part of Namaste. And I've sat in that and thought, wow, why am I thinking about these people? And I thought, well, Kristin, because they're part of your heart. They're part of your ministry. They're part of your life. And because one thing gets stirred in feeling the loss of stepping away from this community, other things get stirred. And so I offer that not just for my own process, but for us as a community as we move through this time. That there will probably be times when we feel other losses. And then the flip side of the exhilaration, because I realize that I've also revisited every beautiful moment I've ever had in this community, and there are tons. This place has grown me. This place has truly allowed me to step into a fuller expression of who I am. On day one, when I got my first lesson in Namaste, it was to realize that perfection was not the name of the game, but how we were with one another was more important than what we did. And in the last several years, I've gotten another lesson, which is how we are together is everything. Everything. We will navigate through this time together. We will. I will be here to help in part of this journey. Reverend James, Reverend Kimberly, our practitioners, and you all will be here in other parts of the journey. Because how we are together is everything. And we will walk through this time. I do not believe that without me this community will not last. I acknowledge that I've had a big part. And you are a big part. There are some very well written questions and answers that we will have available for folks. I'm teasing, I wrote them, so, you know. Some Q&As, because part of what also happens, I know, is that some questions start popping up. I'm not gonna go through all these, because I don't think today's the day for that. But you'll be handed when you leave today, kind of this double-sided. We'll put it on the website. We'll have the talk on the web tomorrow. So that you can begin the process when you're ready of kind of, as the questions come to the surface, to start finding some answers. The part I want to let you know about specifically, though, is that I've scheduled what we're calling heart-to-hearts, and a couple sessions of those, the first of which is this Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then there's a couple the following weeks, so that in a facilitated and loving space, we can come together. And I mean we. I mean any of you who want to have some time with each other, or if you want to have time with me, because I will be there. So that we don't rush this process, and so that we have time to love on each other and support each other and know and experience how we are together in this time. So those sessions and the dates of them will be on the piece of paper that you're given as you leave today. So I want to close today with, I want to close with a prayer that I've been using, especially the last couple weeks. And I'm going to ask Jamie to come up, because I think as I finish this very short prayer, perhaps we might just listen to something's calling me for a little bit, as we just become still and with our own thoughts. So my prayer has been that my heart is open to others and to a sweet and gentle care of self, as Spirit writes this new chapter in my life. Divine love chooses that which beautifully uses me. As I wander in the delights of the day, I am fulfilled, inspired, and blessed with all that I need. And as I read it one more time, I'm going to change the I to we. Our heart is open to each other and to a sweet and gentle care of ourselves as Spirit writes this new chapter of our lives. Divine love chooses that which beautifully uses us. As we wander in the delights of this day, we are promised to be fulfilled, inspired, and blessed in all that we need. And Jamie.
Something's calling me. Something's calling me. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Feel like I'm walking on marbles. Can't stir the earth beneath my feet. Is my head in the clouds, my naked legs left dangling. I can feel my heart begin to pound. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. A long dark night, my soul it wanders. Can't see the light that moves me. If God is everything and everywhere that I belong, Spirit gently wakes me from my sleep. Something's calling me.
Sing with us.
A little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, oh Lord, take me deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, oh Lord, take me deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, Love is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Peace. Peace is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Faith. Faith is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. The leap. The leap is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Compassion. Compassion's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. I want to ask you a question. What keeps calling you? A little bit deeper than I've. What keeps calling you? What keeps calling you? A little bit deeper than you've ever been before. What's calling you, Reverend Kristin?
Spirit is calling me.
Okay. A little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Spirit. Spirit's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Courage. Courage is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Faith. Faith is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. God is calling me, and I'm grateful like I've never been before. Spirit's calling me. Spirit's calling me. Love is calling me. Gonna answer to Spirit. There's a healing going on. Reverend Kristin, we love you, we love you, we love you. We see the best for you, and we know your path is well lit and well informed from the inside out, because you're the perfect presence of the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit's calling you. Thank you for your example and your courage and your fortitude and your perseverance and your determination and your love. Oh, we're grateful you were called here. We're grateful we were called here.
Yes.
We're grateful for all you've taught us.
Yes.
All you've shown us, your authenticity, your understanding, your compassion, your deep love and your brilliance and your beauty. Oh, thank you for answering the call.
Yes.
We are all so grateful.
Is everybody grateful? Everybody sing, I'm grateful. Oh Lord, I am grateful for you, Reverend Kristin. We are grateful. Oh, we are grateful. We are grateful.
Namaste.